If you are an introvert or even have some introverted tendencies, you're going to love today's episode because we talk about networking. And networking for an introvert is not the easiest thing to do. And so my guest today, Laura DeFranco, is a holistic physical therapist who then transitioned in her career and became a publisher, a book publisher, and has now published over 80 books. And she's authored many of those on her own. And today we'll talk about her book, Networking for Healers, which really should just be called Networking 101. I read it and got a lot of value out of it, and there's some real nuggets in there. And it just makes networking more natural, and honestly, it helps you turn into a connector so that you not only grow your business, but help others grow theirs. She is wonderful. She's done a lot of different things. She's a 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo and just has a lot of great stories. You'll enjoy this. She's the owner of Brave Healer Productions, where she'll help you share your story, build your business, and change the world. Laura is a multiple-time Amazon best-selling author with 3 decades of expertise in holistic physical therapy, a 3rd degree black belt, and 50 plus published books. She has a clear preference for being a badass, but she's also the champion of entrepreneurs who want to grow their health-based practices. Her publishing services, collaborative book projects, her writing workshops and retreats, business strategy sessions, and online writing circle are just some of the ways that she helps talented professionals maximize their professional impact. She's a certified content marketer with Smart Blogger, a spoken word poet, an inspirational speaker, and a talk show host. And I can tell you, she's a really cool woman as well. So we're going to have a great conversation here. Laura, welcome to the ThriveMore podcast.
Thank you. I love it. I love being here. I love listening to you read all of that. You know, it's been a minute since I talked to you. We have 82. We're celebrating title number 82 this week.
Oh my gosh.
So we have been busy over here.
That's a lot of books. That's a lot of books, a lot of publishing. Wow. Well, let's do this, because there's if we can talk and put this into 3 buckets, I think the listeners will get the most out of this episode. One, I would love to talk just about holistic health, because this show is on business, health, and wealth. And if you don't have your health, doesn't matter how much wealth you have. So talk about holistic practices, if you will. But you're much more a business person, I would say, than a practitioner, at least from what I understand, or at least that's your passion. And I want to talk about this book, Networking for Healers. I'm not a healer, but I got a lot out of this book reading it around networking, especially as an introvert. Even though I play an extrovert on TV, I am an introvert, and just some of your tips on networking, they're just pure gold. And then I'd love to hear about your publishing company, and there may be some listeners in the audience that you can actually help get to the next level, the next step. So if we can go in those 3 buckets, I think it'll make for a great episode. So if you can start off and just talk about, you have this extensive background in holistic physical therapy. I'm not sure if everyone knows what that means, and I'm not sure if I know what that means. So if you can speak to that, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I put that word holistic in there on purpose a long time ago. So that was my first 30-year career. I was so lucky that as a teenager, I figured out what I wanted to do right off the bat, right? So I started volunteering in physical therapy clinics and really decided, and then hit college and did the degree and got right into it. And it was the foundation for everything I do now as a publisher, believe it or not. So don't you love to look back in retrospect and see how the universe lined it all up for you, right?
Yeah.
And then, you held up that book, Networking for Healers. Well, it could have also been called Networking 101 or Networking for Beginners. But my passion is to talk to my fellow holistic health and wellness practitioners. But holistic physical therapy to me meant I was doing my clients the best service by looking at them as a whole being. Sure. And I would have people come in, and if they were complaining of ankle pain and I didn't also look at their neck, I'd be missing a puzzle piece. If they were complaining of ankle pain and I also didn't ask great questions about how their life was going, I'd be missing a puzzle piece. So holistic is mind, body, soul, spirit approach to this beautiful human where all of the things of their life matter to whatever is going on, showing
Yep.
up in their physical body, right? And I could go on about that, but I'll pause there, and we could, this is one of my favorite topics ever,
Sure.
just what holistic even means.
But let's be clear. You went to a traditional physical therapy. You have a traditional physical therapy education certification. So, Western, let's call it Western medicine education, right?
Yep.
And it was after that, and the reason I say that is because I think people hear holistic, they hear alternative medicine, and they think, well, this person got something off the internet. They took some course on the internet. You know what I mean? Like
No,
there's
I
people that
do.
think that, but let's be really clear. You went and got the education in Western medicine and physical therapy, and it was after you started practicing that you realized that, wait, this is more than let me fix your ankle. There's more going on here. How did you go from a very Western, we diagnose a problem, we treat a problem, we send them out the door, to hey, there's more going on here? When was that flip for you?
Again, super duper lucky to have mentors early in the education period. And yeah, I did all of the schooling, took the tests, got the license, did all the things, right? But I had mentors in my internships. I had mentors in my first job who had been practicing modalities that were a little bit more holistic. And wow, I mean, still, I'm thanking them still for giving me that idea right out of school. Like there's more to this than what you just learned. And I got trained in myofascial release, craniosacral therapy, some of the different kinds of alternative ways to look at that whole system of your body, but really mind body.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
started me off, and I was addicted immediately to just learning more and understanding more. And I think that's part of the reason I had a successful practice, is people
Yeah.
were tired of going to 15 doctors and not getting better. And they'd come in and I'd say, well, has anybody talked to you about this or looked at this? And they would look at me with this look and say, oh, no. But then isn't that cool? Because I could give them a little hope right in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So let's just go into your past. A patient walks in and is complaining of chronic back pain, and the doctor said, well, you need to go get physical therapy. What How would you go about, when you were actively practicing, how would you go about then assessing it? Can you walk us through just kind of a hypothetical, how you would assess, and some of those questions you would ask? And you alluded to that earlier, because I would love to hear, I'd love the audience also to hear how different that is than a normal approach to physical therapy or chiropractic care or anything like that, where it is pretty much a, you know, manipulate it, crack them, whatever, and send them out the door. So what does that sound like? Like they walk in and they say, I have back pain. Because I can only imagine too that some of them maybe maybe we're a little resistant to opening up some and sharing more.
So what you're making me think about is the reason I went out on my own as a PT.
Mm,
Because I worked for the big hospitals, I worked for a couple big companies, and then I very, very quickly realized there would be no way I could do that person justice in that system, that all they wanted was, how many people can you get in the door today? Oh man, what a burnout that
yeah.
is, right? So it looks like having the time to sit down and actually talk uh, to your practitioner and have them be actively listening to what is going on. And that means listening to your story, but also watching you as you speak about the story, the stuff that they're not saying, the body language, right? And then asking the right questions. What have you been doing? What have you done that's worked? What's going on in your life that could be affecting your stress levels? There's a big one,
Yeah.
right? Because if in a traditional setting, when you come in with this prescription from the doctor for your back pain, and the therapist has you touch your toes, do a side bend, do a back bend, and go, oh, what hurts? Okay, check, check, check. And they're making their notes, and there's nothing else, then they're going to miss huge, huge pieces that could be directly related to your problem. Here's the other way to talk about this. Your myofascial system is a 3-dimensional head to toe connective web of tissue. And if you've got low back pain and I don't check the web, right? Think of magical, beautiful spider web, the circle kind that you've seen, right? Just made beautiful, all the strand. The fly comes along and it comes into the top right corner of that web and it gets it all knotted up and there's a little thing there now, right? Well, all the way down on the opposite side, bottom left, is a tug on the system and the pain. And I come in with that low back pain on my left-hand side, and nobody ever looks for the fly.
Yeah.
Guess what's going to happen? Nothing. Or at best, temporary relief.
Yeah.
Right? So asking questions, what else is going on? How's your neck? Has there been any other past injuries that might have affected this? How about emotional trauma or emotional mental stress that you've been going under? What's your posture, right? And some of these are typical PT things, but I really think it gets back to having enough time to sit with the person and really listen to the story and then ask the right questions to get down to what's happening with them. Yeah. It's so hard to do here in a couple of minutes about all that, but
the spider web analogy was great, actually. That's very, very visual and makes total sense.
I love that one. Yeah, you can get a handle on it.
This segment is sponsored by Rockbox Fitness Franchising. Take control of your destiny and join the boutique fitness revolution with Rockbox Fitness. If you're ready to make a real impact in your community and own your own business that empowers people to achieve their best life, then Rockbox is the opportunity you've been looking for. They provide comprehensive support from site selection, upfit, training, and turnkey marketing, so you can open your studio with confidence and a strong recurring revenue member base. Visit rockboxfitness.com and click on franchise opportunities to learn more about this exciting venture in the fast-growing boutique fitness industry. It's time to turn your passion for fitness and for business into a thriving venture.
Holistically, I would also think nutrition. You've already mentioned some mental health questions around, is there stressors in your life? Is there anything would in your private practice, when you really could practice the way you wanted to and you felt was the most optimal for your patients, was nutrition and lifestyle choices, was that brought up as well too?
All of it, because it all matters. It's, as I was listening to you ask that question in my mind, it was like, and even how's your life purpose going these days? How are you feeling? Are you fulfilled? Are you on track to live the life you imagined you could live? How is your eating? How is your sleep? Oh my God, it's top of the list, right? Because our sleep is our major healing and regenerative time. And I'm sure we could Google it right now, what the statistic is about Americans having bad sleep habits and taking medicine for it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, it's got to be all of those questions. And then my job, too, would be to refer out if that wasn't my specialty or I didn't have a great resource. Like, hey, you also need to address these things. How about a nutritionist? How about,
Yeah. And it's almost you mentioned sleep. I think it's an epidemic, but it's also, especially, a lot of entrepreneurs listen to this ThriveMore podcast, and too many of us where, I only get 4 hours of sleep a night as a badge of honor, which really you should just say, and I'm racing to the grave. it's a race to the grave, because 4 hours a night's not going to do it, but we brag about it, which is nuts. Which is absolutely nuts.
It needs to, that needs to shift fast and furiously. I think the only reason I can do what I do is because people look at me and they're like, how do you do all the stuff you do? I'm like, I get 8 hours of sleep every single night. It's a priority, And I think sleep, I've always been able to sleep, and that hasn't been an issue for me. And it does allow me to run at 150 miles an hour most times. But if I were to not prioritize that for some reason or whatever, I probably would get sick.
Yeah.
So you have to also honor your own immune system, what you know you need. And yeah, if you're going to run up against those borders long enough, it'll bite you in the butt.
Yep. Yep. You gotta pay the piper. Let's just transition. For those of you that are listening on Spotify or Apple or streaming this and not on YouTube, I'm holding up one of Laura's mini books, one of her 50 titles, and this one's called Networking for Healers. And it like she said, it could be Networking 101. It's a great business read. There's some, she talks about therapists and physical therapists and the way to apply it. But I just read it as a business read and got a lot out of it. First and foremost, why'd you write the book? And what were you hoping for it to accomplish?
Thank you so much for letting me talk about this book. I love this book, Networking for Healers. And why'd you say for healers, Laura? This could be for everybody. I know, but my ideal clients, y'all.
That's your tribe. That's your tribe.
Yeah. So here's why: because I hated networking, and now I love it. And if that also an introvert, did not like to go to places and network with, those rooms of people. If someone like me who literally hated it could go to loving it and watch it turn my business into an empire, I want y'all to be excited about this.
Yeah.
Because networking, when you reframe it for yourself, and those positive vibes are coming through about this topic and how it can help you, it will change your world. That's why I wrote it. I wanted my friends to know.
Yeah. So Laura, I think it's even in the intro, there is one of your, I would call him your mentors, Donnie, and he writes, I'm reading verbatim here about networking. This isn't selling your shit. It's about helping other people build their businesses.
Yes.
And I think so many of us go into a networking event of like, how can I get something out of this? How can I? And if you don't lead, we all hear, lead with a servant's heart and give, with no expectation of receipt. But you kind of validate that through 100+ pages in this book around, even if you could even talk to it's chapter 2, 3, where you talk about when you meet somebody that does the same exact thing you do, don't look at them as a competitor. Speak to that if you could.
So when I flipped that switch to, I got to sell my stuff in that room I was arriving into, to how can I help you sell your stuff?
Yeah.
I turned instantly into a connector, and then I call myself a super connector now, because I realized the value in meeting people, developing relationships, connecting them with the people they needed to build their business. And believe me, that good juju's coming back to me, whether it's from that person or another person. I mean, this is the laws of the universe here. I'm getting the energy. They're going to remember me when they do. So I do it without expectation or attachment to getting that back from that same person. And you're developing business partners in this business world, and some of them are complementary professions. And some, if they do what you do, what if instead of thinking of that as competition, you thought of it as collaboration, just asking the question, what else is possible? So I don't mind meeting other publishers. I don't mind meeting other writing coaches and people who do the different things that I do, because when you bring those two people together in collaboration, the energy just expands and what's possible becomes beyond what you even thought.
Yeah.
And this gets very exciting, right? I think if I had to prioritize, it would be the complementary professions that I will be partnering with the most. We both solve the same problem from a slightly different angle. That's a perfect, awesome partnership. And I want to network with those kinds of people all day long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really what you just spoke to is an abundance mindset and not this scarcity mindset of, I got to get mine before they get theirs. But hey, what if we grow this whole pie? What if we grow this whole opportunity together? And I just love that, because I have been at networking events and I'll find somebody that does the same thing. And I'm thinking, well, who are they talking to? Is that my client? Or, and it's a scarcity mindset. We have to remind ourselves there's way more than enough to go around. And this isn't a zero sum game, not even close.
Exactly.
So again, this book you authored, and again, and we'll put this in the show note links so that in the show notes so that people can just click the link and find it on Amazon. But there's 50 or 70, 80 other titles. How did you get into? Okay, so you're Western medicine trained. You say, hey, there's a lot more to this. I'm going to be a much more effective physical therapist and do this in a holistic manner. And then at some point, you turn into this publisher that's published 80 plus books. When does that happen and how?
Oh gosh, when does that happen? So as a physical therapist, if you ask my friends and family, they would tell you, like, I always talked, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do a book. I know I'm going to do a book. I just didn't know like what I wanted to write about. Right. And I had been a writer since I was a teenager, honestly. And when I opened up my PT practice, I started blogging. I loved writing in all the ways to educate people and share about holistic health and wellness. Okay. So I had been writing and I talked about the book thing and talked about it, opened up, did my private practice, successful business. So I was also learning the business tools and everything. And when my son was about 5.5, we were trying to find something for him to do, just to socialize, an activity, get him active, all the things. And the two of us went and watched a Taekwondo class together one day. We walked out. It was at the YMCA. And I looked down at his fuzzy little head and I said, well, and he looks up at me, 5.5, you guys, and says, well, I'll do it if you do it, Mom.
I love it.
And
Double dog there.
6 years later, we earned our black belts together.
Oh,
he was
cool.
11 and the youngest in the school at the time to do that. And we were the first ever mom-son team to do that together.
Yeah.
And the day that I really realized, I had been journaling through that 6 years. I've been an avid journaler since I was a teenager. The day I realized and I looked down and I thought, oh, I've got my book. And it was already written half, maybe more than half. And so Living, Healing, and Taekwondo was born in 2012. It was my first book baby. And it detailed that 6-year journey that we took. And it's a teaching memoir, an inspirational memoir of my life as a healer, a mom, a martial artist, a business owner, all the things. And so there it was, my first book.
I love it. I love it. I'm a huge fan of mixed martial arts. I practiced martial arts when I was young, much younger than I am now. What was some of the? I have found that martial arts gave me, it put me in touch with myself and my body and your mind, and especially if you spar, there's this whole mental thing of there's a primal nature to it, I guess. I'd just be curious, what was your experience? Because I think you earned your 3rd degree. As you went on this journey, what did you glean most from practicing martial arts?
My son, after that time, decided to stop, but I didn't. So I trained for 14 years and eventually earned my 3rd degree ranking. I think the quote that Master Holloway has in his school is, discipline the mind, the body will follow. And I think that was the beginning of a foundation for mindset for me that changed my life. A lifestyle of practice and mastery of that was the biggest gift I received, beyond telling you that it was the best physical shape I have ever been in my life, because it was.
Yeah.
But that mind gift was bigger than the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The podcast host that we all know, Joe Rogan, and he continually and famously says, do something, but do something that's really, really hard, because it teaches your mind that you can then do it and you can do anything, and If you can break a board, your mind starts to say, well, maybe I can write a business plan. Maybe I can actually sell something to somebody. Maybe I can lead an employee. I've just found I've talked to so many people throughout my life that have practiced martial arts at a serious level. And the impact, of course, physically and confidence and all that, but the impact on everything else in their life is so positive. Yeah, so positive.
This segment is sponsored by Beamlight Sauna Franchising. Are you looking to take control of your destiny and own your own business? Do you want a great brand in a rapidly growing market? Well, Beamlight Sauna is a nationwide health and wellness franchise with amazing opportunities in select markets. You can bring the power of infrared sauna and red light therapy to your community while you build a thriving business. Beamlight Sauna offers support that includes site selection, build out, even pre-launch programs and turnkey marketing so you can open your studio with a large recurring revenue member base. To learn more about business ownership and franchise opportunities in the fast-growing health and wellness space, go to beamlightsauna.com. That's BEEM lightsauna.com and click on franchise opportunities to learn more.
I ask everyone 3 questions at near the end of an interview, and I definitely want to make sure we can save some time at the end so people can find out how they can get a hold of you, follow you, and be part of your journey. But the first one is kind of a loaded question, so I'm going to say you cannot answer this with one of your own 80 published books. Is there another book? Because I'm an avid reader. The listeners know that, and I ask every guest for, hey, what's a resource that you could recommend to the listenership? Is there a book that you read that you didn't write or publish that when you set it down, Laura, you said, wow, that changes the way I think about this subject or that subject or the world or myself? Is there, and if there's more than one, feel free to share it, but is there one that had a profound impact on you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, writers should be readers, and I am one.
Yeah.
And I have 2 that came to my mind, so I'll just use these 2.
Please.
Joy is My Justice is a profound book that will take your awareness to the next level in terms of your own joy practice and prioritizing joy. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to let you all find out how amazing that one is. Okay. And then for you business people, we all come up against an upper limit, and we have to bust through, and we can only bust through those limits by reading something, having a mentor to bring us through, like understanding what's possible in terms of my team and my business growth. Who, not how. And if you haven't read that one as a business owner and you've been struggling, like, how the heck do I get to the next level? Who, not how. I kind of binged read 3 of the books in their series.
Yeah.
So 10X is easier than 2X was one of them. Who, not how. And there was another one called Gap in the Gain. But out of those 3, the who, not how one changed my business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for those recommendations. And Laura, what I just heard you say too about that particular book is it broke a limiting belief for you. And I have found that is business. If you want to be a great leader, your job, of course, is to hire a great team, have a vision, make sure you're on track for the mission, measure with KPIs. But I find that the majority of my time is spent breaking limiting beliefs, because everybody that comes into your office, your 4 walls, your ethos, if you will, that works for you or with you, we all bring our bag of hammers and we all bring our limiting beliefs. And when you can break a limiting belief for somebody and they achieve something they didn't first think they could, you've unleashed the power in that person. And then that you get 10X return from that employee at that point. So that's one of my favorite. We could talk about that for hours. Like, breaking limiting beliefs is one of my favorite things, because it's when you do that for yourself, or especially when you do that for another human being, it's one of the greatest gifts you can give. Yeah.
Agreed.
And then if we were to, I'm going to ask you a question before I ask you this question. Your goal with, because I don't think I put a bow on the publishing side of your of your career, this very diverse career.
Yeah, I think I missed the second part of that question you asked me. So I'm with you.
Yeah. I want to know, like, what is the goal for? I mean, you've got 80 published articles. What do you want to do with your business? Like, what does great look like when you look back at it all?
Well, you guys, publishing that first book, self-publishing that first book was a huge deal, big potatoes stuff.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I realized, what that was the start of, but mainly it became a place to serve my friends. Like, hey, I've done this. I actually made some mistakes. I fixed them. I know a thing or two. And then I started publishing for other people. And that was that second part of that answer is like, how did you go from PT to publisher, right? Well,
Yeah.
I have now 14 of my own solo books. And so I learned a thing or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started publishing. We publish expert collaborations. We bring communities of experts together on a topic. My community grew. The publishing grew. I learned more. I got good at it. And I think that answer to that last question, what's up now? Like, what's the goal there? Well, it's to continue to build this community and do this together in a way that expands the energy and the reach of your brave, beautiful words and work in the world in a much bigger way, a way that you can't do by yourself. Yeah. And we are the best collaborative book publisher on the planet. I can very confidently say that these days. And I want people to feel me when I say that, like, not because of me, but because of the community that has come around to say, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Like, let's help people right at the next level. What does that even mean? Yeah. So I love to say we help people experience what's possible in life and business. Yeah. And we have it in our children's book line as well now. And
I was going to ask you about children because I think when you and I first met, you just mentioned it in passing. And, I've seen an evolution. My kids are now 23 and 21. But I remember, most of the stories were kind of the old nursery stories, the Pied Piper and all that kind of stuff. And there were some newer books that were teaching they all had lessons in it, but I think there's some newer books that are better at teaching the lessons, and they don't confine themselves to the original story. What are your children's books? What is the aim of your children, the line of children's books that you publish?
So that imprint for us is called Brave Kids Books, and Brave Kids Books has a mission, a pretty big mission, to bring stories that teach our kids these kinds of things that we want them to know so that they become amazing, world-changing human beings. And what if you were connected in a kid's story to your intuition? What if you were connected in a kid's story to your absolute gifts you were born to give, your confidence, and then we could fill in the blank with all the topics, because our authors aren't just anyone. They have stepped up as the teachers, the master teachers in this world for holistic and inclusive, diverse kinds of topics that we really want kids to know. I can't count the number of times I've said to myself, wow, if I had just had someone who would have taught me how to connect with my intuition when I was in my, whatever age, sure, my life would have been completely different at this point, right? So that's the big mission behind Brave Kids Books. We want authors to be able to share their amazing stories for kids, and they really hit on some of those important topics.
Cool. That's super cool. Super cool. So that leads into this question of we fast, and ask this to every guest. We fast forward to the end of your wonderful life, and you've done so many different varied things and contributed to this world in such great ways. But like everything, our life is finite. So we get to the end. We're at your funeral. You're looking down from above or wherever, and there's a loved one that's reading your eulogy. And Laura, they are only allowed 3 words that they feel describe the impact you had on them or the world. and the life that they describe your life and how you lived with these 3 words. Doesn't have to make a sentence, doesn't have to be a phrase or anything, but just 3 words, but only 3 words. What 3 do you hope that person says about you?
Warrior of love.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a cool answer. And there's no wrong answer, of course, but that's a cool answer. I love it. I love it. Last one is, we're living in a crazy world and seems to be getting crazier. If I were to give you a magic wand tonight and you have this magic wand and you wave it and you make one material change to the world, one way the world operates, people are, how the world operates, whatever, and we wake up in the morning after you've waved your magic wand tonight, how is the world different in that one particular way, according to Laura?
It's summed up in this sentence: with awareness, we have a choice. So I would tap my wand on everybody's head and connect them to themselves at a deeper level so that they realize they don't have to walk around reacting to everything, that they can actually respond from their truth, which is love. That's why I said love warrior before.
Yeah.
And that would be the tap of the wand I would make, would be about awareness, because that mastery I know has changed my own life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in a year-long leadership academy right now. And one of the big lessons is elongating that time, that space between stimulus and reaction, because we're so quick to do that. But if you can add a half a second, 20 milliseconds in between what you would normally do, it is crazy the power that gives you back over your own life.
Yes. One deep breath. That's all you need.
One deep breath. Exactly. Just remember to take that deep breath. Well, most important question. If people are in the healing community and are looking to collaborate in a book or be involved with you, or actually just as importantly, if somebody just wants to follow you and be part of your journey, what is the best way to do that, to follow you or to connect with you?
Oh, cool. Yeah. Come over to bravehealer.com. We've got pretty much everything on the site in different ways you can connect.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a beautiful free group on Facebook if you want to come in and play. And yeah, all the things are on bravehealer.com. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, for sure. We'll put that in the show notes as well. Awesome. Well, Laura, I just dig your energy, and I love your confidence and the courage that you've shown throughout your whole life of just going and following your bliss. And so thank you so much for contributing and just sharing openly today.
Thank you, Roger. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the questions. Great questions open up possibility.
Yeah.
So the interview was amazing. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Well, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the ThriveMore podcast. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for any of the resources that we mentioned during the podcast. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you have access to the latest and the greatest. You can connect with me on any of the socials at Real Roger Martin. And be sure to check out our website, ThriveMoreBrands.com. There you'll find information on the brands we support and information on franchising. Thanks again for tuning in.